2020. I'm your host, Eldridge Chavez, and you can catch the CUNYAC Winter Feature every Friday here on our website, CUNYathletics.com, and on our YouTube channel, CUNY Athletics Conference, as well as on our social media feeds by searching CUNY Athletics. If you missed our last winter feature, please go give it a watch. I sat down with CCNY's Lucy Piancentini, where we spoke about her academic career at City College, her time interning with NASA, and what takeaways she'll have once her time as a Beaver comes to a close. Finally, a big thank you to our sponsor for today's winter feature, HSS Hospital for Special Surgery, the official hospital for the CUNY Athletic Conference. Now, sitting with me today is a senior from York College. He's majoring in physical education with a minor in education. He is the captain of the Cardinals men's swimming team from the Bronx, New York. Please welcome our guest, the Cardinals, Anthony Nazario. Anthony, what's up, buddy? Thank you so much for being here today.
What's going on? Feeling good, feeling great. Glad to be here. Appreciate it.
So Anthony, before we get started with the questions, some exciting news literally just happened a few minutes before we got together. Do you want to share that with us?
Oh, no, of course. So basically, I've been unemployed for some time, like many of us during this harsh time. And I got a call from a teammate of mine, and she had a job offer. She said, I think you will be a good fit for this job. And all I had to do is fill out the paperwork, and I'm in the process. So I will be working with special needs children and aiding them in their everyday needs. And it's a true blessing. Studying to be a phys ed teacher moving forward, this type of job experience is what I need to show school that I'm capable of those responsibilities.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's such great news, and especially during these unprecedented time with this pandemic that we're in. Any sort of good news is great news. So congratulations again. And we'll definitely touch more on your future aspiration as a phys ed teacher. So just straight off the back, why York College? What made you decide to study at York?
Oh, well, I did my my associates at BMCC originally, and then going forward, I knew I wanted to be a phys ed teacher straight out of high school, but I didn't have the proper grades to, let's say, get into a Hunter college or things like that. So I looked at the options, and Hunter seemed like the most logical choice. My mother is an MTA bus driver, and she knows the bus routes in Queens and Bronx, so she kind of gave me a blueprint of how I would get there, and I thought that was an efficient way to get to school. I take 2 buses to get to school every day, and it was a logical choice. They have phys ed. The Bronx, unfortunately, it would have been more convenient, but they didn't have much schools with that major. Okay,
and I'm sure you probably just misspoke. You mentioned Hunter as the choice, but you meant York College. So I just want to correct that part. So that's great. I didn't know that your path went through BMCC, a great community college in its own respects. So that's awesome. I think bridging the gap from a community college into a 4-year college, that's basically a path that a lot of students, regardless of student athletes, kind of take. So congratulations again, and I'm sure when the time comes, you'll be the phys ed teacher that you want to be.
No, for sure.
That commute, I mean, we spoke briefly before, I think yesterday, that commute is crazy. 2 hours, 2.5 hours from the Bronx to deep into Queens. How's that like?
So I had to make a decision. Do I take the train or take the bus? I have a really good app, and it kind of showed me the same time frame. If I took the train, it's going to take me 2 hours. If I take the bus, it takes me 2 hours. I was thinking, okay, if I'm taking the bus, at least in the bus route, I have a seat. If I have homework due, if I have an exam, I have 2 hours traveling time to study. As opposed to on the train, trains are more busy, they're underground, and bus was the logical option. So at first it was an adjustment. My first semester was pretty tough, but then once I say mastered it, I could say I was never late after that. Once I figured out, okay, if I take the bus at 10, I'm going to get there at 11:50 on the dot every time. No ifs and buts. Even at my job at school, my ETA is perfect. When I tell my supervisors my ETA is 11:01, they know I'm coming at 11:01. So I definitely, it was worth it.
Yeah, totally. And I could relate with that travel time. I'm also in the Bronx. So to commute to Queens College, where our office is located at, It's the same thing, 2 hours, sometimes 2.5 hours. And literally what you just said, I could take the train, but that just involves a lot of just maneuvering, transferring from one train to another train,
Right.
then eventually taking the same exact bus that I'm taking in the first place to get to my stop. So same boat like you, I just take one bus ride, actually two buses. I'll take the 9 to the
Right.
Q44, and I spend
Yeah,
maybe like
yeah.
an hour, hour and a half
And
just
you get
sitting
a
on my ride.
seat.
Yeah, and you get
Usually
a
you get
seat,
a seat.
exactly.
So
Literally get a seat for the
yeah,
whole ride. But it's rough, man. When I was interning with CUNYAC, I didn't like that I didn't like the commute, but then eventually I got used to it. So I
for
can
sure.
definitely relate with you when it comes to that. So you're majoring in physical education. You're aspiring to be a phys ed teacher. Um, who influenced you to kind of go that route?
I would say my grandmother and my father.
Okay,
My grandmother was a teacher. She worked in elementary school. She worked in high school. Um, Through our numerous conversations, I've learned she's always had an interest in history. That was her favorite subject. But she was a great school teacher. And then my father, he was my first coach. He taught me everything.
nice.
Him himself, he never professionally coached or
Hmm.
coached any team or anything like that, but he coached me in everything, not just in sports, but in life. From basketball, swimming, all these sports I've played, he's been that coach. So I've always saw something in myself to want to pursue teaching as a career through them.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you had those, people to look up to and people to follow in those footsteps. That's awesome to hear, especially when it's family related. Father and grandparent. That's awesome. That's great to hear. So, not only did you get this amazing opportunity just now, but you also interned recently with the Reach Swimming Academy. Talk to me about that
Yes,
experience because it's similar to the job that you have right now, the job,
yes.
the offer you just have. So talk to me about that, please.
So Reach Swim Academy is an up and coming swim program that I mean I wouldn't even say up and coming anymore. They're pretty established, but
Hmm.
they specialize in teaching kids with special needs, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Florencio, my supervisor, he's the creator of the program. He came up with this idea many years ago, and I remember he asked me to jump along with him in this journey. And unfortunately, due to school and the time frame, I wasn't able to in the beginning.
Yeah.
But he always told me one thing. He said, "You will always have a job with me." And years later, sure enough, I'm down on my luck. I don't have a job. I'm going to school. I need to make money to go to school. And I gave him that call, and he was a man of his word. He
That's awesome.
hired me on the spot. He knew what I was capable of. And then I learned a thing or two of working with the special needs community, working with kids who are nonverbal. When you speak to them and they may not speak back, but to understand that they're not ignoring you, it's just there's a lot of things going on with them in their brain
Yeah.
that may prevent them from speaking, or maybe they choose not to. So working with that company was a privilege and an honor because I got to get hands-on experience with just children in general, and to see what parents go through to find a swimming program or to find any program for their kids with special needs. To be a part of that community was so heartwarming. I enjoyed going to work every day, seeing those kids smile. Anthony's here, all those things. It was very heartwarming.
That's
I really
amazing,
enjoyed
man.
it.
I love hearing that. And, that definitely warms people's hearts to hear that. Definitely the obstacles that parents have to go through with special needs children, and to have an outlet like you and like the Reach Swimming Academy program to be able to utilize those resources, makes a big difference. And not only to the kids, but also to the parents. That's unreliable. That's a reliable resource that people tend to overlook, especially children with needs. So that's awesome, and congratulations to that. Um, so we spoke privately again, like yesterday, um, and you mentioned you have a saying, a phrase, I guess, or a passage, for lack of better words, that you live by. What's those words that you tell yourself?
Yes. So I live by these words. It says, limit excuses and embrace solutions. Through my time in York, through my time in life, I've realized that the people who have the most excuses usually don't get far in life, or they don't push themselves. They're lack of motivation, excuse me, and So that's limiting excuses. And then when you embrace solutions, having options, having different ways to do things. You know, going into college, I had options. I could have went to this college, that college, but having those options is great. It's always a great thing, and it helped me in a lot of situations. And I'm starting to teach that to my younger nephews and my little cousins, and even kids that I meet throughout the park and things like
Yeah.
that. I leave with that. I let them know, I want to give you this quote and I want you to memorize it. And then I tell them, and then when I see them again, I ask them, did you memorize it? So for those who actually do, it shows that it kind of made an impact. And I always tell them this, you may not understand it now, but when you get older, you're going to understand what limited excuses and embrace solutions is. And then you're going to embrace that. So that's my philosophy. That's what I live by, and it's helped me get through where I am today.
No, it's great. Definitely good words to live by. Um, and I think we all could definitely limit the excuses. I know I'm for sure, at fault with that. Whether it's me procrastinating to get something done, or just finding any sort of excuse to give me a reason not to do something. That's definitely a vice of mine. Is something that I should work on. So those are great words to live by. Definitely, it's getting you in the right place. You're definitely progressing, and it has a lot to do with what you're living by. So let's transition a little bit here. Let's go into the CUNYAC perspective of it. So you're swimming, the captain of the swimming team. You also do volleyball for York, correct?
Yes.
All right, awesome. But before you even got to do any of those things, for York specifically, your head coach for swimming, Samantha Ayola,
Yes.
she's played a big part in your time as a York Cardinal. Can you talk to me about that, your relationship with her?
Oh man, I've said this numerous times. I even told her, Coach Sam saved my life. Prior to being on the team, I was very overweight. I didn't believe I had the capability to even be on any team. And I was taking a swimming class, for my grade and stuff. And she saw me swim. She
Yeah.
just saw me do a 50-yard freestyle. And she went up to me and had a conversation with me. Said, hey, you're pretty good, this and that. And she said something that really touched my heart. And she said, we would love to have you on the team. And just having that, I didn't know her that well. She only saw me that one day. But for her to have open arms for a person like me to be a part of something, it really changed my life because upon that, her style of coaching, the way she improves her swimmers, whether you know
Yeah.
how to swim or not, she keeps the team together. And for me personally, she saved my life. I found out I was pre-diabetic.
Oh,
And I
wow.
didn't even know that was a thing. I went to a doctor appointment and they mentioned that. And I guess I escaped that. I lost 30 pounds that season. Um, and it was just amazing. I haven't swam since high school. So it was roughly a 7-year gap.
Yeah.
And just to be back in the water, putting on a swimming cap, having teammates again. And it was because of her. And I love her. She's like like an aunt, she's amazing.
That's awesome, man. That's great. That's great to hear. I'm glad to hear that you have that bond with her, and then she was able to literally impact your life. Like that's awesome, and I'm glad to hear that you're taking your health more seriously, and that diabetes is hopefully in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, that's the past now.
An interesting thing that you mentioned was with that York allowed you to use the Instagram account, right? And
Yeah, that was really cool.
kind of record the day of, or the life of a student athlete. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, they approached me and a couple other of my friends about this initiative that they were promoting with CUNYAC, I believe, or Division 3 rather. And they asked me, here, we're gonna give you the account information, and you're just gonna show us what you go through in a day.
Yeah.
I'm big on social media. I love to post. I love to express what I'm doing, show people, positive things. So I literally showed them the whole day of what I did from when I woke up. Literally, I had the phone, and I put the music on, and I woke up, and I'm getting dressed. I didn't show the getting dressed part, but I did some magic video stuff.
Some video editing,
And
yeah.
Yeah, some video editing, and I showed them what I did. That year specifically, I did an internship in a school, so I was visiting a school.
Hmm.
So I showed that trip. Then from there to go to Queens, I showed them each bus I took, and just showing them the whole day, going to work. I didn't have practice that day, so I didn't really show them that much. But and just you know, it was a long day
No, I
to
bet. Yeah.
show, and I gave them a lot of content. I would say the most I think anyone did, to be honest.
I mean, it just says a lot about student athletes and what it's like and what it takes to be in your shoes. For sure. I'm not to take away anything away from just students in general. I'm sure they have their obstacles, but to take on that responsibility to be a student athlete and more for you to be a captain, because that's an extra amount of responsibilities to kind of make sure your team is doing what they have to do, whether it's academic or
Yeah,
just
for
keeping in
sure.
shape. So that's a lot of responsibilities on your shoulders, and I'm sure you definitely run away with it, no doubt about it. Uh, so let's transition a little bit. We'll stick with the CUNYAC. Let's talk about the CUNYAC championship. What was your experience like? Swimming in these championships, like kind of like the atmosphere of it. Can you just talk to me about what goes through your mind? Any jitters, any nervousness, things like that? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I would say for sure the jitters have gone away over the years.
Yeah.
I'm a much confident, way more confident athlete than I was in high school. I remember, getting ready for a high school match, and I'm a little nervous and I'm not shaking, but like I'm just not feeling it yet.
Yeah.
But now I have a different mindset. Thanks to Coach Sam and Coach Sheldon as well, and my teammates too. I'm much older than a lot of my teammates, so to see them push me and me push them, we definitely help out each other. And this last CUNYAC was something special
Hmm.
to myself and my team because we had a teammate. His name is Jeremy Sapeg, very bright young man, and unfortunately, he was diagnosed with cancer this season.
Yeah.
And it hurt us. At least it hurt me the most, I would say. I see him as a little brother, and for him to go through what he was going through, and to now adding cancer to his life was very hard. It just hurt. And this whole season we dedicated to him. Our chant, we say York swim, and at the end we said Jeremy to keep his hopes up. We made a bracelet which I have over here that says Jeremy Strong.
Yeah.
And for CUNYAC, luckily through the grace of God, he was able to be released from this cancer, and he was cancer free before the championships, and he was eligible to even swim there. So it was great to see him back in the water.
Hmm.
And the coolest thing happened towards the end of the last day. We was doing a relay, and we convinced the coach to put him as the anchor, the last guy to jump in the pool.
Yeah.
And what we did was he has a very specific clap. Him and Jeremy and I, we attend a lot of sporting events, and he does this very specific clap. And I'm on the pool deck, and I'm reaching out to Brooklyn College, Baruch, and all these guys. I say, hey man, that guy right there, he just beat cancer and he's swimming. I want everyone to cheer for him. And it was pretty cool seeing everyone kind of do this clap the way
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
did,
Yeah.
and get the people involved. And it was very man, I'm so happy for him that he got through that, all the pain and all that, because he really wanted to swim and he couldn't. So it was good to see him in the championships, the last dance, if you want to call it, to be able to swim with us.
No,
So
that's
that
great.
was, yeah.
I had the privilege of meeting Jeremy. We actually, Harris, your SID, we did like a feature on him, talk about his story, talk about the difficulty of beating cancer.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically the championship game and hearing him, because at the time I didn't get to meet him face to face. I just spoke
Right.
to him, over the phone, and so I couldn't put the face at
Right.
the time. And so I'm like, why are they cheering for this guy? And it didn't dawn on me until now, until you mentioned. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And that's an incredible thing that you guys did for him. And yeah,
Yeah.
down to earth guy. And that red bracelet that you're talking about, yeah, he gave me one too, which I was super honored to receive one.
Yeah. We made that as a team. We collaborative effort. We made that bracelet happen.
Yeah, man, that's
And
awesome. That's great. And such a chill guy. Definitely enjoyed talking to him. And then I did kind of pull him to the side at that championship game just to have meet him face to face. That's awesome. That's an awesome story. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad that you shared it. Uh, so let's talk about the now, if we can. 2020, one of
Yeah.
the craziest years, at least in our lifetime, a year that we would never see, that I personally never seen, and again in our lifetime we never seen. Um, but it was a different opportunity for you, right? Amidst this pandemic, staying at home, distance learning, things like that. Um, you took this opportunity to travel. So you were able
Yeah.
to you started in the East Coast, you made your way to the West Coast. So you got a different perspective on how the pandemic is affecting us, in the country. Talk to me about that. How was that experience like, traveling during this pandemic?
It was definitely interesting. There was a lot of backlash for those actions through my
Mhm.
family, friends, telling me shouldn't do it. I don't know. But the reason I did it is because my best friend who created the trip, his name is JC Rivera, he came up to me with a book. He has a book of notes. And he says, "Hey, man, I want to do this trip. And I think this is the best time." He had a book. He filled out all the money, how much we're going to spend, budget, where we're
Yeah.
going. He had everything written down. And I think when you're going to travel with someone, you definitely want to have a plan. And the timing was kind of perfect because we left, I would say, at the end of June. So statistic wise, the virus was much lower during that time in New York.
Yeah.
And we had the plan and we went. We drove. We went to Chicago. We went all the way to the West Coast, and it was just him and I. We traveled the world together. It was a great experience. And what we did the whole time is always looked out for each other. We made sure we was close. We wore our mask when we felt we needed to. And in different states, you could see a different perspective on how they treat the virus or even their cases. I went to Bozeman, Montana,
Hmm.
where they only had 60 cases that week. And I was there on a Friday. So I'm thinking, that's compared to being in New York where there's 100 plus,
Yeah.
maybe 200 plus. It was definitely a different change. And to see how the community was, they didn't wear too many masks out there. But if you go to like a restaurant or indoor store, they had masks either provided for you or they would just say, wear yours. Hand sanitizer stations. I did a lot of thrift shopping, which was interesting through my travels. And it was a great experience. I'm glad I did it. I was out for 3 weeks.
Okay.
And I drove to the West Coast and then I flew back, um, coming back to New
Yeah.
York. So it was an amazing time.
All right. I mean, it sounds like you had a great time. I'm glad that you got to experience that. I'm glad that you're healthy. You come back healthy.
Oh yeah, and I
Uh,
got tested too, and I was negative. So like, it was icing on the cake to travel through all that time, 3 weeks, all the exposure to people, being safe, staying 6 feet, even more.
yeah.
And then to come back, get tested, and I was negative. It was icing on the cake for that trip for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that, and that's definitely a story that you go take with you uh, years and years from now. Something you could share with your future kids, grandkids, or
Yeah,
whatever
for
the case
sure.
may be. I'm glad you got to experience that. Anthony, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I do have one more question that I like to ask everyone that I get to interview during these features. Anthony, now that you're kind of there, you took the first step today with that phone call, but where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Definitely in the school for sure.
Hmm.
The name Anthony Nazario, I feel, is not something you would hear just now in this interview,
Okay.
or maybe in the York pages and things like that. I feel like in my success through the type of character I am, you're gonna hear me as a coach, whether in basketball, swimming, baseball. I play many sports, and if not, then you will hear my students' names. You will hear the success of those students, and I take pride in their success as opposed to my own.
Yeah.
So I definitely see myself in a school, specifically a middle school.
Okay.
I feel I have a connection with the younger minds, and I feel like as I get older, maybe I would decide to maybe eventually go to a high school, and then
Okay.
maybe when I'm an old man, maybe work in a college. So you'll definitely hear my name again. I can see myself in a school working. living my dream. Being a phys ed teacher is my dream, and day by day I'm achieving it. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's great, man. That's awesome. I love to hear it. I love to hear anyone working in the education system to be that mentor, to be able to basically, set the pathway for future generations. That's awesome, and I'm glad to hear that. I'm sure when the time comes, you'll be exactly where you want to be. Do you have any? Sorry to cut you. Do you have any closing remarks before we end our conversation, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave off with the quote for those who are watching this. If things are tough and things aren't going in your direction, just limit those excuses and embrace those solutions, and you will get through it for sure.
Awesome, Anthony. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again,
thank you,
Anthony. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you all for continuing to support our features. I had such a blast getting to know the student athletes on such a personal level. Just a reminder, the winter features go up every Friday on our website, CUNYathletics.com, as well on all our social media feeds by searching CUNY Athletics. For Anthony Nazario, I'm Eldridge Chavez, and until next time, cheers.
Thank you.